If you do not create, you are not a creator. I cannot believe that 2 years ago, once upon a time, Calliope Mori was nearly torn down from the space for saying that. But it's true, isn't it? If you do not create, definitionally, you are not a creator. I recently watched a video by HealthyGamerGG about the 25-year-old thinker, and I was sort of mid-video when I realized, wait a second. A population of individuals who think about success and how successful they would be if they started off at the right time, who sort of think about fantastically what their contribution would be to the community had they had one, and passing themselves off with a sense of self-importance. And I looked at that archetype and I was thinking, what does that remind me of necessarily? I don't want to be mean. I'm trying not to be. But I think I don't think it's gatekeeping necessarily to say that there are people who want to be this thing, whether it be a VTuber or creator, and then there are people who go the extra step and do it. And I don't think that first population counts necessarily. And this does not apply to people who are in between videos and sessions, who are on hiatus, right? If you've made stuff, then you've made stuff. You're a VTuber. If due to some medical situation or due to recontextualizing or figuring out what kind of person you want to be in the space again after creating, you're a creator. You've created. You are a creator. But I think there's a large enough population of people who are waiting until they get all their assets, who are waiting until they have a model, who are waiting until debut to be a creator. And the time between their saying they'll debut and them actually doing it stretches like taffy in a taffy puller. It just begins to expand further than what you'd expect of it, to the point where you're not sure whether they will start their first stream, make their first video, do their first song. And if you have any trepidation about creating right now is the best time to do it. People who debut very, very, very rarely debut to 0 people, and that's not because a debut is some magical space where anything is possible, but that's because when they debut, they've already racked up some kind of audience, whether it be through strong advertising, whether it be through already content creating, or whether having a past life that has enough clout that people will come around to see it. The debut in and of itself does not matter, and the mythology of said debut, while it's important in the corporate space, it isn't that meaningful in the indie space. What's more meaningful is the community and building that community, right? There's another sentiment that I held at some point where I thought, oh, when I get in this company or when I get in that company, if I have the resources and clout behind me to make stuff, here's all the stuff I'm gonna make. Here's all the cool stuff I have in mind. And it sort of speaks to that 25-year-old thinker idea of, oh, if I restarted my life, here are all the things I would have changed. You already have a list of the content you want to make right now in that. And if you are worried you're not going to do it right, nobody has ever done it right. I think if you ask any artist, let alone creator, if their art, it completely matches up to what they want to be rather than, oh, it was perfect enough or it was good enough and I settled. Pirate Software once said that our creation will always be slightly further away than our capabilities. It is the course of a creator, of an artist, of somebody who makes things, that the thing you make will very, very rarely, if ever, be what you expected to make to begin with. And that's okay, because you don't make the cool stuff once you've attracted an audience. You make cool stuff and attract an audience doing that cool stuff. I think I'm cribbing from Stream Scheme maybe a little bit there. And sure, I have ideas that I want to wait until I have all the things for, like a full 3D capture setup or a 2D model or all kinds of other materials, but I'm not waiting for those things to happen. I'm making these little videos. I'm talking to you all right now to practice my speech. I'm figuring out how to utilize important software like Warudo and other materials in order to make sure that when the time comes, when is asked of me to create and be interesting and catch all of you, I am ready for it. If we are creators, and not just people who think about creating, we must create. We must follow through with the promises we make for others, and more importantly, ourselves. Because there is such a thing as being too kind to oneself. I don't want to say this. I've always been hesitant to say something like this because a lot of my audience tends to be the people who need an ego boost, not it to be taken down. But there are some of us who are too kind to ourselves and don't push ourselves enough. We need to do right by our word and to deliver on the creative promises we have towards others and ourselves, because if we're not accountable to that, if we're not accountable to our word, then where's the trust? Where's the trust in yourself that you'll continue once things go tough? Where's the trust in your audience, in you, that you'll constantly deliver when enough times you've not been able to? And this is not saying, oh, never be sick, never have a mental health day. But there's a difference between momentarily finding respite and being unreliable. Being unreliable is a reputation that's hard to shake. I used to run a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and if you miss one session, it's fine. If you missed 2 sessions, okay. If you are consistently missing 4 or 5 sessions, that's a conversation. If you are late to 3 or 4 sessions, the rest of the players waiting for you for those 15 minutes will be like, I guess they're late, right? You don't want that. Sometimes it's better to have no reputation at all than to have a bad reputation. So even if you're not being looked at for all the hard work that you're doing, it's better to be consistent and strong and working on yourself than overpromising and not giving. And pre-debut doesn't necessarily mean bad. I'm pre-debut. I've had 2 anniversaries. I'm pre-debut, and I'm doing everything in my power to make my debut a success years before it happens. Maybe think about it like this. Thinking about all the good stuff you could be doing is the equivalent of having a good thought in the shower and then losing it. The end result is the same. What you could have done might have been fantastic, it might have been witty, it might have been so smart, it might have been compelling, it might have hit people at their heart, but that interesting thing is lost in the aether because it was never acted upon, never to be utilized. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, going back to Calliope Mori, I never understood why people went after her in that way. It's not gatekeeping, I don't think. I think saying something as basic as, if you want recognition, you have to do something worth recognizing, shouldn't be disparaging, necessarily. It should be hopeful that you have the capacity in yourself to do something worth recognizing. And maybe you don't. Maybe you're an adolescent creator like myself who started creating very, very late and has to catch up with all these young people who have been creating since they were 14 and know DaVinci Resolve and CapCut and all of that. But to those people, I tell you that it's not too late to learn how to make something worth being recognized for. And have faith in you. This should be hopeful. If you feel like you can't create something, become a person who can create. Ding, 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 10 minutes.